the speeches of your boss, are also making the right impact, or they are just speaking to the air. I consider this very important. I consider this very strategic. I consider this very timely. And I consider this one of the essential elements of nation building. That's why we keep emphasizing that you cannot build a nation without public relations. We feature in everything. If a president is speaking to the nation, how do we measure the weight of the statement? How do we measure whether the statement is even being well received, hitting the right target? How do we even know what the right target is and what is the right target? So I'm here to learn, and I look forward to learning from this. And I thank other members of council who are with me on this platform. I look forward to a very, very interesting time. Thank you again, and let's on. Thank you.
Very powerful words we've heard from Dr. Odiakose. Thank you so much for those words. That today's session is relevant, it is timely, it is strategic, it is important. And of course, you can't talk about nation building without also making reference to public relations. So without wasting any much of our time, I will just introduce our speaker for today. For some of us, we might already have known him before now, just as Dr. Odiakose has said. But it is important that, when you bring on someone to handle such a powerful topic as this, that you also let people know about why they are actually suited to, take on this topic. So Philip Odiakose is the Chief Media Analyst at P+ Measurement Services and CMKG Consulting. He's responsible for setting the short and long-term strategic direction of clients' media monitoring, measurement, and media performance through development and leading his team to provide strategic media intelligence and audit support to clients. So he has versatile media intelligence experience, and of course, he's also an evaluation professional, all over 14 years of experience that cut across media monitoring, intelligence, evaluation, measurement, market/data research, and C-suite reputation evaluation. So he has worked across various industries: financial, fintech, healthcare, insurance. Of course, when you talk of pension managers, asset management, down to FMCGs, real estate, and government agencies, as well as non-profits, among others. He's an alumnus of the University of Benin, also has attained certifications on public relations, evaluation, and improvement techniques from Metropolitan School of Business Management in the UK, and marketing and communication from the International Business Management Institute in Berlin, Germany. Philip has won several awards. Of course, if I start listing them here, it means I'm also going to take part of his presentation. But I think the latest one is as the judge for Ahmed Global Awards in 2023. He has also facilitated a lot of trainings, and he's a member of some reputable institutions within Nigeria and, of course, beyond, which also gives credence to why he is speaking to this particular topic. So I would like us to officially welcome Mr. Philip Odiakose, and so that he can take us on the presentation for today on public relations management. Mr. Philip, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and peace. And I'm also very excited to be speaking and also discussing that is very dear to my heart, around PR. So moderator, I don't know if you could hear me. I was first.
I can hear you, but I think there's some sort of
moderator, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but there's a little glitch from your own side. Can you hear me clearly?
Hello, moderator, can you hear me? Yeah, I
Yes, I can hear
can.
you.
So
Can
can
anyone
you?
hear me? Okay, great. So that means there's a lag from your end, but I can hear you.
That is dear to my heart, and I do not take this for granted. And also thank you to Honorable Chairman of the Institute and every members present as well. I'm already standing on existing protocol. All right, so peer measurement has been perceived over time as an afterthought for a very, very long time, almost as old as the profession as well, which is not peculiar, to the Nigerian market as well. So, but in the recent years, we noticed that there've been a very high demand by C-suite and leadership from PR professional, either in-house or agencies, that if we must get a seat in the Marcoms table, in marketing and communication table, we must come with data and showing we must come with data and also show the value we bring to the table, which goes beyond the clipping books as well as AVs as well. So this is one of the clear reasons for my journey into the peer measurement and evaluation world, which is to increase awareness to professionals, as well as to increase awareness, engagement through education and evangelism as well, and which we've been doing that for a while. And we also take up also in partnership to extend that into the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. We also took up a partnership with the NIPR Lagos so that we could be able to stretch measurement and also increase the volume of the value it brings to the table as well for us. Right, so I will be discussing the next one in PR measurement as well as its application in real world. So it's simply definition of this. Simply, it's PR measurement is a standard system for evaluating the effectiveness of our engagement between communication and organization and the TAs and the target audience through various media channels. We can also look at it as an effective measures in terms of quality as well as quantity in the placement of our media engagement and coverage as well. We're going to look more. So, what do PR measurement do for us as well? So there are a lot of couple of things it can do for us, from measurement to
Oh,
analyzing to understanding effectiveness of our campaigns and also evaluation of our campaigns as well. So it also helps us assess the impact, effectiveness of our PR campaigns and engagement. And these allow us as professionals to understand the work we do for clients and what works and what didn't work as well. So this evaluation is very crucial for refining our future strategy and also optimizing our resources. So one of the key case study example of this in terms of evaluation of campaign effectiveness is a recent an online streaming platform, a client of ours. So they did a campaign of the release of a product or a movie, you could say. And so we're engaged at that point in time to monitor, measure, and evaluate the engagement of that product, of that movie. So from the reports we provided the brand, the report helped them in identifying what needs to be done in future, what should be refined through SWOT analysis and recommendation. And also, this can only be achieved from the place of honesty, humility, and integrity. Because why? Most times the results and the reports that comes out at the end of some certain campaigns or a entire PSO model campaign engagement, we tend to see some certain results that are not that do not sit well with us, especially when it's from the agency side or from an in-house PR team side or communication side as well. But the place of honesty, humility, and integrity, which we're going to talk a lot more about when we dive into the Barcelona principle, would give we enable us and give us a sense of moving forward and also refining our strategy from a place of knowledge and also the mindset of improvement as well. One of the key, another example of what PR measurement can do for us as communication and PR professionals is that it helps us demonstrate the return on objective. Yeah, so what this clearly states that it helps us by quantifying our outcomes, which we're going to talk a lot more further, and showing how our PR activities contribute to the business goal, which you can justify, and it can also help us justify our budget as well as resource allocation initiative. So a practical example of this. So I'm going to be giving us example at every point in time in each of those terms as well. So one of the key example in terms of demonstrating return on objective. So a PR agency which we work with, so they were recently engaged by their client, and one of the key objectives were very clear: to raise awareness, right, for a certain product, a certain fintech product, yeah. And so the KPI and deliverables were also clear. So at the end of this, the reports also showed that the agency met their return on objective and also got a lot in terms of earned media. So what this simply means, so why I'm very much more an advocate of ROO versus ROI, right? There've been a lot of conversation globally and locally around the term ROI in PR. And so from the global perspective and also measurement evaluation professionals, it has been a continuous conversation in our sector that the word return on objective is return on investment is an accounting word. We strongly understand how it's tempting for PR professionals to want to show value in terms of monetary value, right? But we need to understand that the word ROI is an accounting terms, which the traditional definition of it is return on investment, and which we all know that ROI is being calculated by income minus cost divided by cost by 100. Right, and to calculate return on investment correctly, you must include all costs, right, from the labor cost to material cost and all associated costs. Now, here's the problem: calculating return on investment requires us as professionals knowing the amount of revenue produced, and if we're going to be honest in that conversation, especially from the PR agency side, that agencies rarely generate revenue. Now, we are tempted to speak financial like advertising with rate cards, right? Which I strongly understand. But how would you speak return on investment when you don't have the value of the client's business, monetary value of the client business, the previous sales after campaign? Maybe PR team in-house might probably have some of these numbers, right? And see how that can be linked from their PR engagement to sales, marketing, and also product. But which is rare from those communication consultants from the outside part, sales after campaign, and many factors that we do not have control over or access to. So if we are tempted that we must speak monitoring terms in terms of value, and then we also need to first of all understand that we have to agree that monetary value of PR cannot be quantified in isolation, right? Because the value of PR in terms of monetary value, it's being seen within the marketing within the marketing mix as well, which brings in the sales, the products, the marketing, and also plots that link. So if you're a PR consultant or a PR or a communication consultant, and you have a certain brief that says at the end of your campaign, we want to see how much, right? Because that's most times the word used, especially when the person giving the brief do not really understand what PR is all about, right? And tend to say, oh, how much would you give to us? Or what would you bring to us in terms of sales? I know PR professionals and consultants get these on a day-to-day basis, and they are tempted to say yes. Some are tempted to say yes, and some are tempted to say, okay, let's see what we can do. But if you have that brief and you want to show that value, you can stay away from the conversation of bringing in the salesperson, the product person, the marketing person. You bring them into a room and you tell them, guys, we're about to run a PR campaign for X duration of time. And the C-suite or leadership wants to see how PRO moved the needle from during the point of that campaign, right? So the reason I'm bringing you guys into this room is because I want to be able to link the exposure and engagement, knowing the fact that, for example, if a customer sees a product campaign on a blog, and that trigger is buying habits to purchase that product, there is no way and there's no place written that PRO can attribute that single item to their name, because the sales guys are already excited taking that glory. The marketing guys are also in that loop taking it. The product guys are also excited that one customer is buying because they can link to see those numbers, but PRO wouldn't. So the PRO guy brings them into the room and says, oh, at the end of the campaign, I want to get the numbers of sales for this duration, the numbers of call bounce in, the numbers of inquiry. So now the PRO links. Now this goes in a trend graph. Then the PRO links its media exposure during the course of that period, the media engagement during the course of that period, from the paid and old media, shared media, the entire PSU, and link that across link that with a sales number, product number, and that's the only way you can show if you're tempted or you have a brief that says we need you to move the needle and show it that this X amount that was spent during our campaign, and this is the number of sales that was driven with that. But if you do not have access to this product, you don't have access, if you don't have access to these numbers, have access to this thing, then I think you just need to be very honest to speak to the brand about the objective of why you're being called in to drive engagement, awareness, and also probably recognition or whatever reason that is being called in. Because that's a very important conversation that has not been held for a long time. And I think we should be having those honest conversations so that brands and the education should come from the communication consultants and down to the C-suite and leadership, so that clear understanding should be there as well. Then another key thing PR can do for us is PR measurement do for us. It helps identify the perception help identify audience perception. Right now, this helps provide insight into how brands are perceived, how organizations are perceived by the TAs, right, by the target audience. So these can be done through monitoring across the entire media platforms that is being engaged or the brand is playing in. Looking at the sentiment and also gauging the public sentiment to address any misconception or negative perception of the brand. So there's a recent recently, I know we are aware that the distribution companies are currently undergoing a lot of heat, and so we're called in by one of the discos to check also to gauge the public sentiment in terms of what the public is saying about them. And so what happens after that period? We did that. So we gathered media data across various platforms. And this information and this report help them to gauge the public sentiment and help them to refine their statement in terms of their positioning in the media. So PR measurements can help you do that, because why? You can't tell when you need to put out a statement, when you can't even, or the type of statement you need to put out, when you can't really gauge what's the level of sentiment, what's the sentiment level saying as well, rather than assumption, right? You need to deal that from the place of data, and that's the only way you can be able to return back to the public with a right statement that would appeal to the mindset and also to the feelings of the public in that regards as well. Then the last test, it's benchmarking, and it helps also in benchmarking and comparison. Right. So I think competitive analysis, it's a very key conversations that we should be having, because we for a very long time believe that competitive analysis of benchmarking, it's all about SOV, which we call, some of us call it share of voice, some call share of mind, some call mind share, some say share of shout, different names as well. But in the honest truth and fact about this is that SOV, which is share of voice, is beginning to become a vanity metrics, right? Because why? It doesn't tell the true position of your brand or your organization which you're representing, because it's just a single metrics. And so SOV has all noise encompasses in them. So for example, if X brand, for example, X brand in a certain industry, let's say in the banking industry, top the share of shout or share of voice, and which suppose by default means that X brand is doing better in terms of noise, right? But when you drill that data down, you begin to find out that it's really not all exciting, because you will find out that 40% of those noise are negative. So now it's now coming to the question of what's the quality of those numbers. So I would really, I would advise us, and I think I will appeal to us to take a quantitative analysis beyond just SOV and look at some other key metrics. So for example, in the financial sector, which we're very big at, we tend to break down competitive metrics into different break down into the competitive data into various metrics, like comparing sponsorship, partnership, fintech engagement, CSR activity, product launch. And so when you have these various setting competitive metrics, you could confidently say that we did better in the industry outside the almighty SOV. You could say we did much better than other brands, or like XYZ brand, in the area of product launch, in the area of CSR, in the area of corporate engagement, in the areas of, so that way you could identify what your competitive edge is, rather than looking at the SOV from the top as well. All right. The next is types of measurement. Right, and so it's very important to look at this, because for us to be able to take the conversation of measurement further, we need to understand what the various types that we have. Just like research, we market research, we have the quantity metrics, and we also have the quality metrics. The quantity metrics are those numbers, the numbers game, the volumes. the SOV numbers, the audience reach numbers, and the spokesperson quoted numbers. Now, those are just the numbers game, right? And so, but the quality metrics are the quality of those numbers, and that's why we see sentiment taking the first point is it, because we probably might have 26 or 1,000 media exposure for a very huge campaign, and for a certain period of time, and we could say, okay, so what was the quality of those numbers, right? The quality of those numbers, that's where we begin to look at sentiment. That's where we begin to look at message penetration, which we look at the placement and the rest of them, key messages and the key reading. Then we also look at one of the key parts in that, it's looking at the quality, credibility, and influence of either the media, which we had our various story placement on, or the reporter or influencer or the opinion writer that also had that result. We're going to drill down into quality and quantity as we move a bit further as well. So I know we are more familiar with the Barcelona principle, which I think I'm very excited that this has been some of the conversation recently in the Nigeria market in the last couple of years as well. And so most of us are not new to the Barcelona principle. So these are not methods. These are not framework. And they are principle, like a guide, just like the name implies as well. And so these are principles and guide that was created by AMEC in 2010, which was first created and refined in 2015. Then also had the final version in 2020, which gave us the bet of 3.0. So the reason AMEC came out with this principle was to give us a guideline, because why? There's no silver bullet. There's no silver bullet to measurement and evaluation. Yeah. And so AMEC says that, see, if you want to have an healthy PR culture, PR measurement culture, then you need to be guided by these principles. Because if you're being guided by these principles, there's no way you're not going to come out with valued metrics rather than vanity metrics, and also come up with measurement framework that would align with your engagement and communication engagement as well. And so the number one principle, which states that setting measurable goals is an absolute prerequisite to communication planning, measurement, and evaluation. Now, what this clearly said is talking about the goals. It said our goals must start with the change you want to see as communication professionals here, and this should be founded in research, right? So you don't just set up a goal from the top of your head, because which I'm very excited that I've consistently here within the industry, and also see and witness how research is being done. Our research has been done to before a PR campaign goes into play as well. We've been witness to some setting of this research process. So we could say that that's a very common practice we have around. And also our goal should also be defined prior to the start of the campaign, and also a communication program, which is still very, very important in this. And also we need to also ensure our goals are in the quantity and also quality metrics being included in that. So by doing that, it will also help us. It helps us to identify the who, the what, how much, and by when. And so it simply means who you're trying to reach. So now this is about setting up our goals, right? Who you're trying to reach, what you're trying to say, how much of an impact you're trying to have, and when you want to see the change, right? These four items and these four guides would really plays a huge role in our goal setting, right? And so that's why I'm always very excited that most times brands bring in their PR team also within the sec to also have their say and also their definitions and also their guides and input in making these happen. But I think it's a very great point we should look at, and also play revisit throughout the campaign and see how we can also reflect progress over time by optimizing the process. Because when you set a goal at X time and in the course of the campaign, there's a need for you to tweak. So that's why we need to always make it very flexible and have an open mindset in the process of execution. Because most times, what we picture from the beginning, sometimes in the course of the process and the course of the program, there are some changes that needs to be tweaked in between. So I think it's very key that we have to keep an open mind and also see where we need to tweak and also reflect progression over time as well. And then also the principle two states that measurement and evaluation should identify outputs, outcome, outtake, and potential impact as well, which we usually call the three O's. The three O's, that's one of the key chapter in my upcoming books. And so I think I would really, because there's been a lot of mix up in the difference between the three O's: the outtake, the outputs, the outtake, the outcome, and the fourth, which is also the impact. But so what's an output? I think it's very, very clear for me to really make the distinct difference here as an opportunity. An output, it's what you put out there to your TAs, to your target audience, right? What you put out there, the communication you put out there, which this can be press releases, email marketing blast, events, social posts, as well as every other media that this also generates. That's output. Outtake. This is what your TAs do with your communication, right? Remember, we said output is what you put out there to your target audience. Outtake is what your target audience do with what you put out there, what they do with your communication. Now this simply means that, okay, now the target audience is aware of your communication. What did they do, right? So considering, did they like your conversation? Did they share your conversation? Did they run comments on your conversation? Did they engage on your communication? Whatever they do around your communication, that's what outtake is as well. So I will share a quick case study that for a financial brand at a time was one of its key objective. And so they wanted to measure audience behavior change in terms of their communication, right? In terms of their communication, posts as well, sharing of their social media posts as well. So at the end of the day, the outtake was the post was engaged, right? The post was reshared. They had a certain number of reposts, a certain number of reshare, a certain number of likes. Now, these engaging posts, it's what is called outtake. Then the last and not the least, outcome. Now, remember we said output is what you put out there to your target audience. Outtake is what your target audience do with what you put out there. Then outcome is the effect what you put out there has on your audience. That's the effect of your communication on your target audience. So now here's the question of what happens as a result of your campaign, right? That's your outcome. So now in PR, so now the word, so this would typically be a measurable change, probably in knowledge, in attitude, opinion, behavior, or reputation metrics. So now there's a question of what changed. So what change did your social media efforts make, right? That's one of the key outputs. Did your customer loyalty for the brand improve? That's an outcome. Are your leads more qualified? That's an outcome. Did increased engagement lead to people probably subscribing to your newsletter, or there's an app that needs to be downloaded, or an ebook that needs to be downloaded? Was that happening, right? So I'll give a case study of an e-hailing, right, which we're working for, and the PR team picked one of the key metrics in terms of the engagement objective of that campaign as improved reputation, right, as one of their primary outcome, right? So now that would flow, right, from its output and manifest as a concentrated outcome as well. So at the end of the campaign, the data shows that there was an improve, in terms of their reputation, because they begin to notice how customers are engaging them as well in terms of their social media engagement, and seeing the outcome of that in subscribing and also engaging their apps as well. So I think that's a very great way to actually look at what an outcome is. Then the fourth, which is a potential impact. And so most times people interchange impact and outcome, which they are not apologetic about, because the result of what your communication brings, that's what outcome. That's probably, there's a great reputation, and that's the impact. There's a great reputation. There's an increase in sales, probably, and also in organization point, there's probably employee retention, right, and more about that as well. And so it's very key that in our measurement execution, outputs alone are best interpreted as directional rather than absolute measures, right? It's very important to look at that. Outputs are directional. They are not an absolute measures, because we can always recommend to aim at measuring outcomes, which is very important. So because we can do this by linking output and outcome to the wider context, which is key to telling a meaningful brand stories, and also a credible one as professionals as well. Then principle 3 states that outcomes and impact should be identified for stakeholders, society, and organization. We have outcomes here again, and impact. It's what it wasn't a mistake. And so outcomes and impact should be identified for stakeholders, society, and organization. So now let me be honest. There's no one right way to measure societal or organization impact of communication, but I would just provide us some bit of tips to consider when we are placed or put in such position, right? And so I would advise us to move beyond thinking sales and services provided are the only item. I want us to also look at metrics such as employee retention, because we are looking at stakeholders and organizations, and as well as society. Lead generation can also come into the funnel. Also change in behavior or attitude, which is a very clear one that we should also look at as well. And also we can also consider when looking at organization performance, communication can and it should also impact the brand reputation. It's very important. As much as we're looking at to measure and gauge organization, society, and stakeholders, the brand reputation wouldn't get lost in the midst of all of these. Our communication must impact the brand reputation in across the 3 items as well: the stakeholders, society, and organization as well. And gathering the quantity and quality metrics around reputation, which is also key in looking at the impact on our reputation as well. The principle 4, which says communication, measurement, and analysis should include both quality and quantity analysis. This is very, very important. Remember, we've had previous conversation around quality and quantity, which we said quantity metrics from a cross-channel research is we're looking at the impressions, which are numbers, reach, which are numbers among TAs, SOVs, which are numbers, PISO and own paid media, and also sharing of that, which are also numbers, and those are quantity metrics from a cross-channel view. Then if we want to look at what that is also from an audience survey-based research point view, we start looking at awareness, recall, message, content relevance, and all of that. And those are then also perception and attitude change as well. And those are also quantity metrics. Then in quality metrics as well, analysis, we also need to look at cross-channel like sentiment from TAs or from our target audience, credibility and relevance as well, message delivery, call to actions, and we also look at third-party endorsement, inclusion of spokesperson as well. So it's very important for us to understand that we need to measure results and progress. Very important, not just success alone, because the result and progress, that's where the learnings are, as against the success only, because we need to measure consistently to keep an eye on trends, use a healthy mix of quality and quantity metrics to inform our overall evaluation as well. This is very important. Then the fifth principle that says AVs are not the value of communication. I think this is a conversation that AMEC and also the industry have been having for. I've witnessed the evangelism of this for more than a decade now, and I'm also excited to see that when we started this conversation in the Nigerian market 9 years ago, and from where we are right now, and we're very excited to see that the numbers have changed. Research shows the number. AMEC report, AMEC Global Report for 2022 also reflect the numbers have moved from the previous research in terms of the African market, which drew down to Nigeria, South Africa, and the rest of the African market, EMEA as well. So we've seen the change as well. But I will also be very honest that the usage of AV is still very much around, and it's not a Nigeria peculiarity. It's still being used globally. At the same time, conversations around the denouncing, the dropping of that, as also is still ongoing, and the shift is also increasing from compliance to non-compliance as well. Like people using it and not using it as well, because most times there's always a conversation that brands are making this demand. But for us, I'm always a very big advocate to understand that every pitch and conversation must start with education, because most times you probably might be trying to prove your words at the same time forgetting to make a statement of what is going to become a trouble when you're proving your words. I've gotten the business. Then you now start having an issue of a standard problem, right? And so AV is just like what the words is. It's advertising value equivalent. And so, to be very honest, communication and PR can't just be reduced to a single metrics. Now, that's just the number one flaw, right? Because AV is supposed to tell the monetary value. And remember, we talked about initially when we talked about return on investment. This is the culprit of why we still prove ROI in PR to match AV as the value. For me, I think we need to understand that which we've consistently increased the volume in the area of education on why this is very wrong. Why? Because like I said, PR and communication cannot be reduced to a single metrics in terms of their value, right? So because there are too many factors that play in what we do, too many audience to understand, and too many potential impacts to consider, right? So no simple financial value will truly, right, account for the effectiveness of what we do as PR professionals as well. So it's very important for us to understand that for those of us that still perpetrate this evil, because that's what we call it, we need to understand that there are many things wrong with this, because number one, it is a flawed metrics. Number one. Number two, it's industry denounced. Number three, it can be manipulated, because why? The advertising rates we're using, we're not taking into account also the negotiated rate on that as well, right? That's another point of where it's being flawed. Then lastly, it's right. It's vague. It can't prove. It doesn't prove the value of our work, right? It doesn't prove the value of work. We just throw numbers to clients, a huge volume of numbers to tell them, if it was advertising, this is what you would have spent. There's no need for us to rub shoulders with advertisers, because we are both playing in a different space. We're playing in the reputation business, and they are playing in an advertising business that is being played, that is being bought based on rate card. And we don't buy reputations on rate card and PR. So I think I wouldn't really want you to take my word for it. I think I'll advise us to go check out the 22 reasons why AVs are invalid. And that's from AMEC. You can see that on the AMEC website as well, and also read other journals as well. Like I said, it's not a peculiar thing to Nigeria market, right? But that's a conversation that if we must prove the value of what we do. And most times people begin to ask, so what is the replacement of AVE, right? AVE do not have any replacement. And no, that's the exciting part of it, because why? We want to leave this evil and look for another evil to jump into. But I think recently there've been a research on a cost effectiveness analysis, right? That's an hypothesis that is still being tested, to bring in a bit of media math, right, into investment and into costs on all that. But that's an ongoing thing, by Payne Publishing, and that's Katie Payne as well. She's one of the ODs in terms of measurement and evaluation globally as well. And I think we should consistently have this conversation with clients at the beginning of the engagement. This is very important, because we've also tend to turn a lot of these down from brands to say, we do not do this. All right, I'm sure you're not just going to go to jail, because you're going to prove to them other valued and other valid metrics rather than vanity metrics like AVE that will cost that won't bring any meaning to them as well. Then the sixth principle that says holistic communication, measurement, and evaluation includes all relevant online and offline channel. Right. Holistic communication, measurement, and evaluation includes all relevant online and offline channel. Right. So in 2010, that's when the principle was first created. This principle 6 was stated then that social media can and should be measured. Right. That was 2010. Right. Then in 2015, there was a bit of slight change on that says it was slightly it was qualified slightly to read social media can and should be measured consistently with other media channel. Remember, 2010 said social media can and should be measured. 2015, there was an upgrade that says social media can and should be measured consistently with other media channel, because then I make find that social media wasn't just the only channel that PR played the space, right? And so there's a need to bring that into, they need to bring other media type into the holistic and also integrated measurement funnel as well. So that's why the Principle Cs now brought in online and online and offline online and offline channel as well. So now it seems like the 3.0 it's remaining probably 2020 and beyond communicators that social media, right? That social media, it's not the only platform that we should make use of as well. Then the Principle 7 run that all through that as well. Then here's the peer measurement framework. I think I'm running out of time. Yeah, right. All right. So that's the peer measurement framework. So so for us to start it, so for those that are not engaging in it, just to start in a very small scale, it's first you set your peer expectation, which you determine your metrics and what you tend to achieve. You identify your competition. You select your media channel, whether the print, online, TV, radio, out of home, whatever channel you want to engage in terms of that. Then use a listening tool. There are various listening tools. I'm very excited that the industry has really been driven lately with that as well. Then also human element is very important because you need a human element to eradicate every nuisance as well as machine error from the data extracted. Then you measure against your success parameter. Then you set your reporting frequency, which helps you to develop your data bank. It's very important. Your data bank helps you in historical reference of that as well. Then also advise and recommend as well. What peer measurement do for us in the real world ways, it helps us elevate our company effectiveness in crisis, helps us understand how effective our spokesperson is. That's a very key metrics that should come in your report. In our measurement report, spokesperson's analysis, it helps us improve our messaging when our company it's criticized in the press, and also correct misperception, whether the company logo was used wrongly in the media, the CEO's name was spelled wrongly, the spokesperson's name was spelled, there was a wrong mentions and all that. That's what it helps you do, gauge the value as well as the performance, and also help you keep in market trend and speaking opportunity. Now, this is just the basic skills that you would require to start, right? Because for those of us that don't know how to go about it, you just have to start. Ensure you have the use you make use of Excel and PowerPoint, research and data analytics skills. Then most importantly, time and data management as well. Then lastly, so this was just a pretty case study from one of the online streaming business in terms of, so the AMEC framework was used for this. The organization objective for this was to expand its subscribers in Nigeria, produce and promoting original content, and establish a strong presence. So the communication objective was to build a strong online presence and engage with Nigeria audience and some other things. Then also the TAs were the general reviews, viewers, the media, the youth. The strategy input was a print online engagement, influencers, stakeholders. The implementation went straight to engaging the print media, online influencers, insight, SWOT, and media briefing. The output, which we spoke about, the numbers of print exposure they had, online exposure, and also share of their record at that point, the followers, the retweets, and the rest of them. The outtake, we noticed there an high engagement in subscribers retention, engagement of their posts, the outcome, there was an increase in their brand media share, the surge in the brand recognition, top of mind awareness. The organization impact was the brand moved the needle from the second position to the first position during the time of the campaign as well in the online streaming business. And also the brand activity generated a lot of positive engagement as well. All right. Thank you very much. This as well, right?
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip.
Time is going on.
Yeah, but one of the things, I mean, there are many things to take out from here, but I think most importantly is to know that when we're talking about PR measurements, it's not, something that has to happen in one day, because with the explanations that have been given here, some principles that have been shared, and, a lot of things that are involved, it means that anybody who is interested in these particular aspects of public relations has to, of course, like you said, you need a lot of honesty, a lot of humility, a lot of integrity. That means it's a skill that actually requires attention to detail. And definitely, we're not exhausting all of that in this class. What we're just doing, or rather, in this learning session, what we're just doing is letting people have an idea of how powerful PR measurements can be, especially when they're trying to communicate change. So thank you so much for all of the insights that you shared. And I think that one of the major things would be for me, and I believe for everybody else, is the difference between return on objectives and return on investment, I believe. And maybe that's why communications and accounting teams, they don't meet eye to eye, because a whole lot of holding people on the neck will definitely happen. Put an unquote on that. Just to move forward, and in the interest of time, I think the floor is now open for questions and answers. If you have comments, if you have contributions, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or to type them in the chat, and we will be asking that. And then our subject matter expert, Mr. Philip, will be answering to the questions. I'm going to go through the chats right now just to be sure that there's nothing I'm missing out on. But yeah, you can raise your hand and you'll be unmuted to speak or to ask your questions. There are quite a few comments from Dr. Amadou Fatima Binta. She says, PR measurements evaluation involves the impact of assessment of media on brands and services, and effectiveness is measured in terms of quantity/quality and placement of news coverage, message impact, and tone of coverage. Great. Somebody's hand is raised, Mr. Abdulaziz Abdullahi. I think admin will unmute you and then you can ask your question.
Hello, have I been unmuted?
Yes, hello? You are now. Yes, okay, you are now. You can speak.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been a very
Mr. Abdulaziz, it looks like you've muted yourself again. Okay. Yes, you have the floor now. Yeah, please speak.
Thank you. Thank our presenter for the great insights he has shared. And first of all, I would like to say that what you didn't quite dwell on the challenges. For instance, the challenges that measurement faces, especially in a climate like Nigeria, where data is sometimes very, very difficult to come by, and even the analysis is not probably as in-depth as it should be. And then secondly, I think as a way of a comment or an advice, I think it would be very important if his agency collaborates with NIPR so that we can have a curriculum on how to measure, how to learn measurement, to draw up a curriculum on how to learn PR measurement. I think it's still a new field. Still, it hasn't been really explored, and very, very few people have that skill, for instance, and considering how relevant it is to the sector and what we do, I think it's important that we are able to teach it, as it were. I think if this is considered, I think it will be good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Abdulaziz, Philip, I don't know if you got what he said.
Yeah,
I know the second thing was on collaboration. Okay.
Yeah, I think I got that. So number one, it's I actually spoke about, which was slightly being mentioned, about the challenges of PR measurement currently, and also the absence of data, right? And so I think Abdulaziz, so it's good to have you here as well. So I think one of the key challenge of PR measurement that we're facing right now currently in Nigeria, it's the problem of understanding what PR measurement is, and also its process, right? And also its implementation, right? So that's why I had to quickly run through the last slides that says develop a data bank, because you cannot. Okay, so I could say currently over the last nine years, we've been able to develop a huge data space for the financial industry and some couple of industry because of consistent data gathering process that we've done in the wider industry over time to house this data. Because you wouldn't you will always complain about the lack of data when you do not have that in place as well. So that's one of the key reasons, like I said, we actually came into the industry to close that gap of unavailability of data for PR professionals to make data-driven decisions. And we've been doing that for over the last 9 years. And I think it's just for us to continue to improve. So that's why we're stretching that conversation also to PR professionals, that it's very important for you to start small, whatever any certain level, because you wouldn't just want to come from the sky and think you want to make a certain decisions without having that data, or you're working for a certain client or for a certain brand and you're just doing your normal routine engagement, press release engagement, events, stakeholders engagement, and all of these, and you find out that you've worked for that brand. Some of us, some of the PR team have worked for a certain brand organization for 7 years, for 8 years, for 9 years, for that certain number, for 5 years. For those certain number, you should by now be already have data for 5 years or how long you've been in that organization. Because why? Every point of your engagement must start with data gathering as well, and data evaluation and data housing, because that's the only thing you can look back to say, did we do well? What should we do next? Or how should we go about it? Right? That's that for that. Then the second point is then second question is the point of partnership. Yeah, I strongly agree with you on that. And I think we've started that a couple of years, thanks to Mr. Mark Meda during his tenure in IPR. So we started that, and thank also to Chairman Comfort, Madam Comfort as well, that has also sustained that. So we've been able to tie our partnership with NIPR Lagos for a while, and we are looking forward to extending that that conversation, because of for that currently the NIPR Lagos has integrated measurement and evaluation into their curriculum and into their courses as well. And we've also been able to do that for NIPR National at some point of their at some of their engaging events to speak and facilitate. But I think we can also take that conversation forward, which I strongly agree with you as well on that. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Philip. I think I will just read through some of the questions that we had earlier in the course of the conversation, and I think there are two, and then hopefully we address as much as we can before 3:15, because I mean we're working in the interest of time.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the questions, please, if we're not able to take that, this is a pre-conference training. It means that we're encouraging you to, be part of the National Public Relations Week so that you can share that. Somebody is asking, where the products are humans, how do you manage them as a brand that has different characteristics from education to exposure, etc.?
Oh, please read that again. I didn't get that.
So where the products are humans, like where maybe the people you're trying to reach or what you're trying to, I don't know, the products here looks like what they are trying to sell. I don't know if it's an ethical statement, but the question reads, where the products are humans, how do you manage them as a brand that has different characteristics from education to exposure?
Okay, I think that's a PR question, right? But I think, I think that's a PR engagement question, which I wouldn't want to try on that as well, because that's about engagement and how you go about engagement and in a brand with various subsidiaries of various products as well. So I think that's a PR targeted sector question.
Okay. I totally understand that. And I believe it's why we have over, I would say, 20 sessions or so at the NPRW week. And I would like to, maybe go to the second question, and then we can please wrap up just in the interest of time. The other question says, what are the specific indicators that could be used to measure the Barcelona principle designs. I don't know if that was mentioned
Okay.
as you spoke, but yeah, that's the question
Yeah.
from
So I
me.
think specific indicator to measure the Barcelona principle. But there are no cast on stone or silver bullet, like I would say, in terms of how you go about your measurement and evaluation. Yeah. But what I could say is you set your metrics, your measurement metrics in terms of indicator which you're referring to, in line with your objectives. Right? Is your objective about awareness? You want to increase awareness for a certain product, or stakeholder engagement, or you want to correct some bit of misperception or corrections or something. So I think it's all in line in what you're trying to achieve. Then you tailor your metrics across as well. But sentiment is one that should be on your dashboard. Yeah, I will encourage that. Sentiment should be one. C-suite performance should be another. I would also advise spokesperson's analysis should also be in that dashboard as well. I will also advise various level, even though it's a campaign, because I've heard a lot of words like we're doing it's a PR, it's just a campaign base, and so we don't need competitive analysis. I think it's very important because at any point in
Okay.
time you're running a certain campaign, you need to know what's happening at that point in time as well. Yeah, and around your competitive industry
Okay.
space, so it's very key to have that on your dashboard. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip. And I want to thank everybody for staying to this point in the learning. Um, I would officially apologize, on behalf of all of us who would have heard the questions of those of us who are not yet able to ask their questions. And I would just say that if we start going deep into this topic, it means that we're going to have to start doing the public relations conference inside this pre-conference series, basically. So I would like that we get our questions ready for the National Public Relations Week. And of course, there'll be lots of sessions that, like has been said, it will provide you the opportunity to ask, as much questions in detail and to get as much insight. Without much ado, I think we'll go to the next little, section within this particular learning session where we will be asking for your feedback. Um, I would like to ask the admin to please launch the poll. You would see a poll on your screen right now that says share your feedback. And there are just 3 questions. So we would appreciate if you can take out a minute or even less than that to share your feedback with us. I think we're currently about 67 people on this session. So we're expecting as much answers as possible. And while that is going on, I'd like to again take out time to let us know that this is a pre-conference series, of course, ahead of the National or Nigeria Public Relations Week, which is holding in Abeokuta between April 22 to April 26. That is this month, in about 2 weeks' time. And if you have not yet, registered to be part of all the learning that will take place, we're currently expecting over 2,000 delegates. 50 speakers and panelists will also be there. Of course, they will speak on over 20 plenary, sessions, workshops, and breakout rooms or breakout sessions. There'll also be opportunities to engage with young minds, especially if you are a youth and you are, actively interested in public relations. There will also be opportunities for mentorships. You get to meet senior professionals, of course, also people who are your peers, and you'll also be working with them. There will also be, of course, social events, because it's not just enough to talk about work and all the things that have to do with work. There will also be an interesting social event called Adire on the Runway, and there would also be guided tours. So while we're waiting for the answers, there are more people who are yet to send in we're waiting, please. If you're yet to send in your responses, we're expecting that. I just wanted to use this opportunity to to let us know about the conference. Okay, so moving on, our next pre-conference learning series is on upskilling for the future of public relations, right? The times are changing, like we've heard them over and again. So it means that our methods of reaching people and making sure that whatever information we're putting out or messaging we're sending out is also in line with the times and meeting people where they are. This is why this topic was actually put together. And that will hold on the 16th of April. That's next week, Tuesday, between 2 to 3 p.m. Please register and also share the link with your colleagues so that they can, be part of the learning and also be armed with, what it takes to be able to stay ahead of the times, or of course, to be able to stay relevant in the time. I think at this point, I will ask for Mr. Philip to give us his final words, and then we can call it today.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, and yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for everyone that stayed to this point.
Sorry.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate, since I'm still here, I think it's appropriate for me to thank Philip for
Okay.
giving us a very educative, enlightening, and well-informed session. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Governing Council of the Institute. I've listened all through, and I am really enriched. You have reemphasized my position that this is a very important aspect of public relations that we have not taken advantage of as it ought to be.
Yeah.
So this is just to thank you for finding time to give us this. We look forward to seeing you and many others like you at Abeokuta. Thank you. God
All right.
bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I think I appreciate that. All right.
Thank you,
So
sir.
thank you. Thank you once again for the opportunity to be here again. And also, I think I would leave us with just a piece of advice that it's very important for us to make. We shouldn't make measurement and evaluation as an afterthought. It should be the beginning and the end of our engagement as well. It's very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I believe that we can call it a day. See you at the conference and, of course, next week, Tuesday.